Hi, I'm here at Patterson Baseball Complex here at Gonzaga University. This year, the 2023 season has undergone extensive changes construction-wise. Spoke with two experts who you'll in a minute speak on this. But for now, just to give you an overview, the natural grass behind me actually is now artificial grass. It's artificial turf. That was a big benefit this year in terms of being able to play longer and more games this season at home, especially being able to practice a lot more frequently than in previous years. This does boost the competition with some of the Southwest teams that we play, such as in Arizona or California. Let's see what our two experts had to say. Yeah, so I know that there's been renovations on Patterson. You mentioned it in our facilities course. What renovations have there been on Patterson, and when did they begin?
So we started the renovations at the end of last season. So that would have been in June of 2022. And the main renovation that's taken place so far is taking out the natural grass turf and adding artificial turf to that. Also, the NCAA has made some changes with their requirements for safety. So we added padding to all of the fences all the way around the field.
Are those the main ones?
Yep.
Okay.
And then just a couple of side ones is we took out, we used to have berm seating down the first base and third base line. We flattened those in anticipation for adding some temporary seating.
Okay. So what role have you played in your position in renovations and operations?
I've been pretty much in charge of all of the renovations and leading the construction process, working with the general contractors that we've selected in order to make sure that our needs are met and that they understand what the overall goals are.
Okay. And then how has construction affected the team? And then also how has it affected fans, especially with game day operations?
I think it's going from natural grass to artificial turf has definitely impacted the players and the coaches, just because they have more opportunity to be on the field now. Being a northern climate school and playing baseball, it's really tough to get enough practices in or take care of the field in the way that you want to take care of the field so that it's playable. Every season, we start in March is our first home series, and the baseball season actually starts in late February, and so the players and coaches are used to being on the road for the first 4 weeks, and this allows us to host games at home on our artificial field. And then fan-wise, probably the biggest impact was, like I said, taking out those berms, and they were very popular, and but they were somewhat dangerous because there was the risk of foul balls and line drives and that kind of stuff getting there. So leveling those out, but providing the opportunity for more seating capacity is definitely going to help on a game by game basis.
Awesome. How have you, as facilities director, basically adapted to game day operations based on these renovations? Just because Sure. Observationally, like as a student, I've seen construction going on right up to down to the wire. So
definitely, yeah, and with construction, it's never completely finished when you want it to be finished, and so it's always the little last minute stuff. And we had some things that weren't finished for our first 2 or 3 series that we had to adjust, and it didn't allow spectators access to certain areas, and there's certain areas that they still don't have access to because of just how the construction processes went. So just being mindful of that, trying to accommodate as many fans as possible in as many areas as possible safely is my overall goal.
Yeah, my name is Connor Gilbert, and I'm a graduate assistant in the athletic department. Sports info assistant is my job title, and I act as sports information director for Gonzaga baseball.
Okay, so first question, tell me about how the team is doing overall this season.
I think there's been some ups and downs. I think they scheduled really aggressively, and part of that is that you always need to schedule aggressively like that in hopes that you can get some wins and put yourself in position for an at-large berth. They're not in that position this year just because they've had so much turnover, but they've still been competitive in the WCC, and there's still a chance for them to make an NCAA regional if they win the tournament.
Okay. Can you speak on how Patterson Complex renovations have impacted the team, the players, and the coaches?
Yeah, I think, well, the primary reasoning behind that thought process that you get at least 30 days back of practice per year. And in college baseball, the discrepancy between northern teams and warm weather teams is pretty large. I mean, most of the time, a lot of these teams in areas like ours that are colder in February are going to be on the road for much of that first beginning of the season, and your practices are limited by the weather conditions that you have. So a lot of California, Arizona schools don't have that issue, and they're fine with natural grass because there's no real weather conditions that hamper their ability to practice. Whereas at Gonzaga, there's a lot of time when we're practicing indoors, we're not really seeing a field until weather really allows it. And so having a synthetic surface is easier to get snow off of, it's easier to deal with rain. It just gives you more ability to get reps in practice and stay as competitive with a lot of those more advantaged teams as possible.
Okay, so how might players and coaches adjust to current and then future possible renovations?
The turf itself has been an adjustment. I think the biggest one has been just having a turf mound. A lot of pitchers aren't really used to throwing off of a mound, the synthetic surface. In terms of the bounces, you get used to the way the field plays as the season goes on. And it's an advantage in some ways because a lot of those teams aren't used to it, although I would say that it plays more true to grass than most other synthetic turf surfaces. And in the future, I wouldn't say that I expect the field to change much more than its current iteration, but we're going to tear down like our clubhouse and all this other stuff and rebuild a new indoor facility. And that indoor facility is actually going to be massive for them. It's probably more of a boost for that program than the field itself, just in terms of recruiting, in terms of the benefits that having your own indoor hitting facility provide to you, and just having modern, updated stuff like that. It's definitely sorely needed, and it's something that will help them a lot in terms of with the brand and with just recruiting in general.
So they haven't started on the clubhouse yet?
No, they break ground in June.
Okay, my last question for you. Have you been impacted essentially as an SID with, your tasks or game day operations? Like, have you been impacted by these renovations at all?
Yeah, I think that not in terms of like the day-to-day, but I can see in the ways as someone who's responsible for marketing that program a lot, and I'm involved with a lot of their recruiting operations because of social media. Having something that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing has definitely made it easier. It looks like a real ballpark now. We didn't have the outfield walls before, the padded outfield walls, and now they have branding on them. They have the number of regionals we've been to and WCC championships we have, and overall in pictures, in terms of things you can sell, like it's made it a lot easier. We used to have just a chain link fence with like some fabric over it, and it did the job, but you can tell that like now this looks like a much better, more put together ballpark, and that's an easier image, and everything just feels a lot more tied into what they want to sell to recruits and just to the general public about like how they operate.
Thanks for watching, and as of right now, Gonzaga baseball has done very well in the 2023 season. There's still a little bit of baseball to be played, but let's hope the best for our Zags.